What is going on, everybody? My name is Giraffe Anatomy, and this is another quick god guide for Smite. Today, we're going to be looking over the goddess Artemis. So what we're going to do is basically go over her kit, her abilities, show how to utilize them a little bit, maybe talk a little bit about what she builds to utilize her kit effectively, and hopefully by the end of this video, you're able to take Artemis into a game mode like Arena, Joust, Slash, or even Conquest, and be able to utilize her effectively, right? You're not going to be so confused about what she does or how to use it. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to go into some jungle practice. I'm going to choose Artemis, and then we'll get started. So first and foremost, Artemis is a hunter. So she does a lot of damage with her basic attacks, and she is basically built to do that range damage, right? So she is going to build a lot of attack speed, a lot of penetration and crit, so she can be doing damage with her basic attacks. Artemis, I find to be, she is a very, very powerful hunter late game. Because of the way her kit works and how you can utilize it. And she also uses things like Silver Branch Bow very well because she has a built-in attack speed stim in her kit. The problem with Artemis, though, is she is not the safest hunter. And what I mean by that is Artemis does not have a movement ability at all. All of her abilities, they're all either doing damage or CCing or something like that. They are not going to allow her to escape quickly. Now, she does have in her second ability a little bit of movement speed that you can run away with, but she doesn't have like a leap, a dash, anything like that that you can normally dodge abilities with. So you have to learn about positioning to play her very well. You need to know when to go into fights, when to sort of hang back, know what's around the map, put wards up in your lane so you don't get ganked, because you will get ganked if somebody sees an enemy Artemis on the team. They will gank you. They will make your life a living hell if you don't know what you're doing when it comes to playing her. So just keep that in mind when you're playing Artemis. Really quick, I'll just get some relics so we don't get that message. And yeah, so let's start with her passive. Let's start with Artemis's passive. It's called Still Target. Artemis deals 15% increased basic attack damage to gods and 30% to minions who are afflicted by crowd control. In case you don't know what crowd control is when an enemy is rooted, stunned, basically they can't move for a few seconds, right? So Artemis's one, we'll go over that, applies crowd control to an enemy god. So if they are applied to it, Artemis is dealing 15% increased basic attack damage to gods. Another thing to note is this also applies to slows, anything like that. If you apply a slow to a god, that is crowd control, Artemis will be doing 15% increased basic attack to that damage. And that isn't just crowd control that you apply to enemy gods, it's anybody on your team. So if you have barons that slow them, if you have people that like apply slows to enemies, you will be doing that 15% extra damage to enemies. So it's awesome. And there's actually an item that synergizes with this. If you build like, I'll just show you real quick. In Deathbringer, if you're building crit, I can't see it because I'm not in the fountain. But if you build Deathbringer, one of the upgrades for Deathbringer is Envenom Deathbringer, the glyph for it. So critical hits on enemy gods afflict them with poison for 2 seconds. This poison slows them by 10% and reduces their damage output by 10%. This is a great item on Artemis just because it synergizes with her passive. You used to build Poison Star when that was a thing because it worked really well with her. They kind of added that into Deathbringer, so it's Envenom Deathbringer. So although you're not getting attack speed out of it, you are getting an extra 15% damage, plus it's reducing their damage, plus it's slowing them so you can like catch up to them and really do a lot of damage. So it is a good item to get on her. But let's get into Artemis's abilities first before we talk about builds and things like that, and then we can kind of go from there. So Artemis's first ability is called Transgressor's Fate. Artemis places a trap on the ground. Enemy gods coming within 5 units of her traps activate them. rooting and crippling the enemy god, preventing movement abilities, and dealing damage every 3 seconds. So this is a built-in ability that you can use to activate Artemis's still target passive, right? It doesn't affect minions. It's just enemy gods that get rooted by this. So you can't like accidentally place it under like a wave and have a minion step over it and take it away, which is great. But yeah, so I'll show you what this looks like. I'll just put this in his way, and this is what it does. It basically keeps them in place for a few seconds. There is a damage per tick. They actually increased it recently, so you do damage. So you can actually place these strategically across the map. It roots them for 2 seconds no matter what level it is. So you always have that 2-second root. And you can place up to 3 on the map at once. So you can actually place one kind of in anticipation of something and then wait for it to come up and then place another, and you can have up to 3. So you can do things like if you're in lane, you can place 2 traps kind of on the left side of the jungle or the right side, depending on what side you're on, while you're farming in lane, in hopes that if an enemy jungler is coming to gank you, they have to go through that lane. And there's like 1 or 2 spots where if you put 2 traps next to each other, it kind of would block that off, and they'll get trapped, and then you can buy yourself enough time to get away. You could put it in lane at tower lines if you're sieging a tower, or if it's at your tower to prevent them from tower diving you and just being able to like walk all over you guys. So it's a great sort of like sieging tool that you can use if you're sieging a phoenix or a tower, or if you're trying to defend one. You can kind of put them there, and it might give you like an extra shot or 2, or if they're diving you, you might be able to like trap an enemy and get an extra tower shot or 2 on them because of that. So it's really good ability, but the best part is you basically trap somebody and you're getting free damage on them while you attack them. So as you can see, when they are trapped, right now I'm just doing 68 to them. When I trap them, 78, 78, 78. That's the increased damage. Those 69 ticks, those 69 are just the damage per tick that you see, but those 78s, those big white 78s, are basically Artemis's passive kicking in when somebody is trapped, which he got out of that real fast, and it's probably due to diminishing returns, which we'll talk about. Diminishing returns is if you CC somebody too many times, the CC affects them less and less and less. You can't get like CC chained to high hell anymore. There are diminishing returns now in Smite. So if Ymir freezes them and then you place a trap under that enemy, they won't be CC'd for the full 2-second duration. It'll be something more like I'm not sure, maybe like 1.5 or something like that. I'm not sure the exact diminishing returns and stuff like that. But yeah, so let's see if we could get another shorter one. It looks like we might be able to. It's a little shorter. Maybe not the full 2 seconds there. But yeah, so that is Artemis's 1. This is a really great tool to also like run away from an enemy with. If you're getting chased down by an enemy, right, just place a trap at your feet while you're walking away. It should create a little bit of space between you and them, right? So it can be used offensively and defensively. You're gonna have to utilize this with Artemis because she doesn't have movement ability to help. Now if a whole team's just diving you, it sucks. You're really only going to be able to have to use your ultimate to maybe try and get out of that one. But if it's just like a one-on-one, if a jungle's chasing you and stuff like that, like I said, you can use it like preemptively. Like if you're about to fight somebody, if you're maybe poking them, it's like, oh, okay, let's get them in the trap. Okay, we're good, right? That's like an offensive use of the item. And then like I said before, defensive use of the item is like, oh, Odin's after me. Oh no, I gotta run away. I'm gonna place this at my feet real quick. They're right behind you. They will most often, like more often than not, run into it. And if they avoid it, they have to like go around real quick. They're creating a little bit of distance between you and them. So you can use it defensively, or when you're fighting. If you're fighting with somebody, you can just place one at your feet and fight around it, right? Because they will, especially like an assassin, will have to get up close to you to do damage. So you can place this and fight like over them. Like you can place one and fight over it, because if they're coming near you, they're going to have to come near you to do any sort of damage, and then normally get caught in it anyway, and then you're able to do that extra damage to them. Cool. Let's go over Artemis's second ability, Vengeful Assault. So Artemis attacks at a furious pace increasing her attack and movement speed significantly. Additionally, Artemis cleanses herself of slows and becomes immune to slows for 0.6 seconds when activated. So her attack speed starts at 40% and then goes up to 80% when it's fully maxed out. And she gets a really good movement speed buff, 25%. This is what I was talking about before. Really quick, I'll just show you. This is the normal attack speed, right? But then when you press Vengeful Assault, you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner how long it lasts, right? It looks like it starts at 3 seconds when it's first level, but once you get it all the way maxed out, it's at 5 seconds there. So it doesn't do any additional damage, but it does give you additional attack speed and additional movement speed to be able to chase down enemies. Like normally when you're attacking like this, like you can't really catch up to Odin. See how he's faster just running away. But if you press something like Vengeful Assault, you're normally able to stick to him a little bit more, a little bit longer. You're still not as fast as like a fully moving person that's not autoing, but you are able to catch up to them, right? And then the best way to use this, obviously, is in conjunction with your one. So you're able to put a trap down, pop this. You're doing that 78, 78, 78, 78, right? You get a bunch more extra damaging attacks during that stun duration in because they are rooted and you are applying your passive to them, right? This can also be used to run away from things. Like I said, if you do this and pop your 2 and you run away, you create some distance between you and an enemy, right? So if you're getting dived or something like that, or there's some danger, try and put your trap down and turn around and run away and then pop your 2, and you should be able to create some distance. You are pretty dang fast. Where does that turn around? Right here? So you're pretty dang fast with this. I'll show you what it looks like next to somebody with regular speed. Like, see how fast I am? I'm like, you know, you can get away from some people with your 2. So don't be afraid to use your 2 to escape, right? If you're in trouble, place down a trap, pop your 2, run away. You should be able to get down your lane and under a tower and in a safe spot using this, right? So these are kind of your tools to not only be offensive, but be defensive with. You can kind of use them both ways with Artemis here. So let's talk about her third ability. So Artemis's third ability is called Suppress the Insolent. Artemis fires a volley into a ground target, suppressing all of her enemies. Enemies caught within the volley are damaged and slowed. Now, once again, when they're slowed, you're activating Artemis's still target passive. So for those 2 seconds that they're slowed, you can also auto attack them, and then you will be doing that extra 15% damage as well. So Artemis fires a volley into the ground, suppressing all of her enemies. Enemies caught within volleys are damaged and slowed. So you can see the damage. This is her main like lane clearing ability. You can use her 2 to also clear, but sometimes you want to save it to like have to get out of a situation, something like that. But you can use her 3 to clear the minion waves, and actually I'll show you what it looks like. This is the range that you can do, and then this is about how big it is. So when you do it on an enemy, see how he's slowed for a few seconds? You'll see underneath him there's like a little kind of like a glowing circle thingy that indicates that they're slowed. So remember, we're hitting 68, 68. If I hit him with this, 78, 78, 78 while he's slowed, right? So during that duration, he will get that debuff to him. So you can kind of combo this into a and also watch 231. They're slowed. If you here, let me do this. Wait till it's up again. Place the trap here. So basically what you're able to do is combo like your slows together, and if you do it right, if you start with like maybe you do like your 3 auto trap auto, you're getting more of those 78s in basic attacks in there. It's probably a better idea to do your 1 first and then your 3. So if you want, you can try and do the 1 first. Once they're in it, the diminishing returns, remember, and then 3 them again. You'll be doing a little bit more of that extra damage. So you can try and chain them together, get them with your 1, start doing your basic attacks, and then once they're out of your stun from your 1, use your 3 to slow them, keep doing basic attacks, and that whole time you're going to get that 15% increased damage, right? And then you could pop your 2 in the middle of all that as well. because that will basically help you do even more damage in that short amount of time, right? Slow them. Whoop, it's just me missing basics. But see how I'm getting more 78s out of that combo. That's kind of how you want to maximize it. And also remember, so right here, Artemis is still target her passive. It increased her basic attack to gods. So if you get them in here and you do this, the ability itself is still going to do the same amount of damage, 231. Only your basic attacks are getting that extra damage there, right? Awesome. So those are her 3 abilities, and that's kind of the way you want to combo them between those 3, right? You're utilizing those as much as possible. You can also use your 3 to try and escape from people, right? You can basically like place this down, run away. You can 2 them to slow them, right? You're going to create a lot of distance between you and an enemy like that. So you can not only stun them, but turn around real quick. Maybe really quick as you're turning around, hit them with the slow, so that they're not able to catch up to you even more. So all of her abilities have like a utilization to try and escape, even though they're not true escapes. But you can use them to create spacing to get away from people if you need to. So let's talk about her ultimate, which is a great team fighting ultimate. It's one of like the best ultimates, I think, to engage team fight and also to get away. So although Artemis doesn't have a movement speed ability, she can use her ultimate to run away from multiple enemies at once, and we'll talk about it. So her ultimate is the Caledonian Boar, also known as Tusky. Artemis summons the Great Caledonian Boar on her enemies, doing damage to the nearest enemy god and stunning them, and itself. The boar is immune until it hits the first god, and then continues to charge other gods for its lifetime. Artemis is also immune to crowd control for 1.5 seconds. So it is a CC immune ult. You can use it if you time it right to avoid things like Ares chains, like even like Scylla's a 1 and stuff. If you all time it right, anything that would stun you, Ymir freeze, something like that, she becomes CC immune. So it's really good because it's basically like a second set of beads if you can use it correctly, and it'll stun your target, so you can use it for spacing, getting away, or engaging. This is what it looks like, right? So this is the huge circle area that it will fight in when you release it, and this cone area, this little cone area, is basically what it will target first when it comes out. So I'll just show you what it looks like, and it will hit multiple enemies. So let's just see what it looks like real quick, and I'll cut do this. So see how it hit those 2? Now I think it's too far away to go to this guy here, right? It was only able to hit these 2 because I think he was out of range. But you can see it'll basically go to the first god that's in that cone, that's the closest, and then it'll go to the next one here. Really quick, stunning them in itself. So yeah, the boar does stun itself for like half a second while it stuns them, but then it will go on to the next target. You can see it does a lot of damage once it's leveled all the way up, and then its stun does increase to 1.5 seconds. The boar does last for 6 seconds. So let me show you real quick. If you fire it and it doesn't hit somebody right away, but then somebody walks into its range, it will stun them as long as it comes in within 6 seconds. So I'll show you real quick. I know it's going to go over. Hold on. Let me do this. I'm trying to get it so I can show you guys kind of what it looks like when somebody walks into the range. Yeah, let's do this. So it'll sit here, but when Odin walks into that range, it will go after them, right? So as long as somebody eventually walks in there, it will stun them. And let's look at the multi-target again real quick. I just want to show you guys as I reset the cooldowns. If you want to try and get all these targets, you can get them. It looks like to just go over here. No, it doesn't. I think that's a little too much for it, even though he was in the circle initially. I think it wants to go on like a certain path. So let's just do this one more time. I'll kind of show you this so you guys can get an idea. 1 should go to this guy, and 3. So if they are in more of a line rather than a circle, right, it will work its way down as long as they're within like a certain distance, which I believe it's something like this. It's something like the distance between these Odins right here. So if you are starting a team fight and you notice that their team is all grouped up and they're all within like a certain distance of each other, it can be hard because Tusky kind of has a mind of its own, it'll go to whoever's closest first, and then it'll go to like the next closest person, and somebody could get away by then. But if you're starting a team fight here and you're able to like trap somebody and then start this fight, right? That's Tusky on the first one, second one, third one. It's stunning those enemies, and if they're all within kind of like an area, you can get like a full 5-person stun eventually, and it can really help in team fights when you do that. Really quick, I'll just show you kind of how Artemis utilizes it to escape as well. So if you are getting chased down and there are people that have CCs or things like that, like I said, if Ares is chaining you, you can quickly like use it if you need to get a little extra CC. But it can also be used if, say, Odin came over a wall and popped it, right? You could do something like Caledonian bore him, put a trap under him, 3 him, run away, right? He's going to be slowed, he's stunned, he's trapped. Like, he's not going to be able to catch up to you, so you can run away. Or you can just do Tusky and then run away. Do Tusky, press your 2, and run. And then save your trap and your 3. If they close the distance again, maybe try and trap them and 3 them or something like that. So yeah, you can always also do Tusky and run away as well, but you can also apply like her other abilities. A really good strategy with Artemis, if you're being aggressive with her, if you're going to engage somebody, you can Tusky first, then get a trap under them. So because Tusky stuns them, and it's much easier to hit a Tusky than like a trap on a moving person, because it takes like a half a second to like put the trap down. You could like do this, okay, put the trap down, pop your 2, okay, now I'm doing a ton of damage to them, 3 of them, right? Like, that's kind of how you would engage aggressively with Artemis. So you start with Tusky, you put the trap down under them as well. Between Tusky and your trap, they're stuck for a while, and then you're basically just railing on them with your basic attacks. And you're able to do a ton of damage to them. So that's all of Artemis's abilities, and sort of how you would utilize them in combinations of each other and things like that. Let's talk about builds, because I think it's important for Artemis, and like knowing how to build her. So Artemis loves attack speed, obviously coupling that with her 2. With Artemis, because she likes attack speed so much, you will almost always grab a Silver Branch bow on her while you're building full attack speed. And because of Silver Branch's passive, where if you go over 2.5 attack speed, you gain 2 physical power. If you do that in conjunction with her 2, she really utilizes Silver Branch bow really, really well for those like 5 seconds when it's maxed out. And she has that 80% attack speed, right? So I will also show you. So a build like Artemis's, you can either start Gilded Arrow, or you can start Death's Toll. These are probably like the first 2 that you'll do. Gilded Arrow is good if you're going to go crit late game. Plus it has the basic attack damage, which is really great for her, because she's getting that extra 15%. Right? So if you go if you're trying to do a crit build with Artemis, normally going to go Gilded Arrow, and then depending on if they have the healer or not, I normally like to go Atalanta's first, then Aussie, and then you can decide whether you want to do another crit item, like if they don't have a lot of healing, you go Wind Demon. If they do have a lot of healing, you get Shadow Steel early, and that way your crit is online early with either of these 2, with this and Atlanta's. Or if you really are getting chased down by like warriors or something like that, or somebody tanky enough, like you can start Wind Demon and then get Silver Branch, or get Silver Branch first. You really so right now with just these 3 items and popping your 2, you're at 2.46. So if you get Silver Branch bow, you can utilize it because you're at 1.99. So you're not going to get any stacks on it yet, but when you pop your 2, you are 12 over, so you can start utilizing Silver Branch in your basically your 4th slot here after Gilded Arrow, this, and that. You're able to utilize Silver Branch's passive, so I'll show you. It's 180 right now. You pop your 2, all of a sudden 203, 203, 203. That's like a huge increase in damage, right? Getting that random crit from Atalanta's right there. But basically, this 4th slot, either you want to do Silver Branch or your next crit item. And I kind of build her, you can build a crit attack speed and not have to get like a Deathbringer at the end. So that's basically what this is, right? So it'll be something like this, and then you can get like a Wind Demon. And now between Wind Demon and Atalanta's, right, you're doing 209, 366. You're getting the crits a little bit more often, right? So you're starting to activate Wind Demon's passive, which is increase attack speed and movement speed. So I'm getting, I'm normally at 2.13, but now I'm at 2.22 with this. And if I pop my 2, now I'm getting 24 stacks on Silver Branch Bow with this. It's really, really great. And if you go a build like this, you already have pen between these two items, and these, you're going to get some more crit when you upgrade Gilded Arrow. So your last item can either be something like a Kins, or you can go like full blown crit and do like a Deathbringer or something like that. But like Kins would be good. Something with more attack speed is never like a bad thing. The new Executioner upgrades are really, really good as well. So if you want to build something attack speed based, I'll show you real quick. Some people say don't go Kins with this, but Kins is giving you Kins and crit. Sometimes they say don't do that, but it can be a really good item to basically have like all of your bases covered. Like this build's really, really good on Artemis because she's doing crit damage. She's doing increased basic attack damage. The kin size is doing the 3% of the target's maximum health on everything, right? So just with this build alone, you're already at 2.32. You pop your 2, you're getting those Silver Branch passives, including the Wind Demon passive and everything like that. You're really able to dish out damage, like a lot of damage, really fast with this. And then obviously once you upgrade Gilded Arrow, you're going to want to go Ornate, just because you didn't get another crit item here. And then once you have the stacks here, you're already at, with Ornate Arrow, you're getting the attack speed. So you already have a passive 7 stacks here with the Ornate Arrow, plus the crit, plus you're getting the extra crit chance, right? You're at a 65% crit chance, which is really good. So if you're just doing this here, this is you just critting and like hanging out, right? Attacking these guys. You pop your 2. You're doing a ton of damage. You have 50 stacks of Silver Branch. That's like even more power, right? This is a pretty decent build on Artemis. You will shred almost anybody with it, just because even like tanks and stuff, like with between Kins and the crit and the pen that you have, you're just going to do a lot of damage to them. And especially if you get somebody caught in a trap, they're just done, right? You can't really do much. So with this build, you need to be conscious of using your 3 and your 1 to get that slow, to get that extra damage on them, right? If you start with a 3 and they have the slow, you're doing that extra damage on them. Trap them, get them in there, right? You're good to go. So this is a pretty solid build on her if you're doing crit. One other thing you can do, dude's going nuts. So one other thing you can do is you can swap this out here for Deathbringer, like I said before, plus the Envenom Deathbringer. So you're not going to have as much attack speed, right? But you basically have a 95% crit chance with this and the upgraded Ornate Arrow. You're not going to have the Silver Branch thing unless you press your 2, right? When you press your 2, you're going to have 36 stacks. But now Envenom Deathbringer on top of this is passively going to be applying that slow to them. So any of your basic attacks, you'll do damage to them. I really like this because, yeah, you're basically critting every single hit. Like, there's no hit you're not critting. And if you get somebody in a trap, they literally just melt away. So I would recommend doing this if you're going to go crit. Like, you basically have the full... Man, these are really distracting. Announcer packs. So this is a really good crit build on her. You still have the Aussie for sustain, the Wind Demon, everything. Like I said before, you can swap out Wind Demon for a Shadow Steel if it's a lot of healing. If their team's healing a ton, that's the best part about this build. It's super flexible. If you do something like this and you just swap out the Shadow Steel for the Wind Demon, right? It's like if you see Soul or somebody or Olo Run or people that heal on their team, just do this and you'll be perfectly fine, right? They won't heal at all in this build because you are critting like every single hit. As long as you're hitting on them, they're not going to heal. Because Shadow Steel itself, 40% reduced healing for 10 seconds. And that's a long time to be applied, and you're going to outdamage them 100% with a build like this. Plus, you're actually getting a little bit more power out of it, the 40 physical power and stuff like that with this.
This gets to the point.
Which actually, if you notice, with Ornate Arrow, our sources of gold, 1 by 7. Yeah, you get the 20 stacks still. But yeah, you are at 2.5 attack speed already with like a Shadow Steel Shuriken and everything like that. Because I believe it gives an extra 5% attack speed here versus the Wind Demon. But the Wind Demon has its passive, so once you start critting, you get an extra 10% plus the physical pen and stuff. So this is more for the pen, right? The penetration if you need it. With Silver Branch, you have 20%, and with this, you're going to be chunking people pretty hard anyway, so you should be fine with crit. If you need a little bit more pen, you can do this. But yeah, and then the other way to build her, so I'm going to show you one other way really quick. If you're going to do something like Death's Toll and start Death's Toll with her, eventually you're going to want to upgrade to Death's Temper. And this will probably be the attack speed build that you want to go. So you can do an Iqbal, you can do an Aussie, you can do the Silver Branch Bow, right? And if you pop this, you have 17, right? So this is going to be basically like the pen build that you want to go. And then you can do something like a kin size. Sorry. Grab this real quick. You do a kin size in this build. And you're basically going to shred people with your basics. And you're going to try and be utilizing that Silver Branch Bow passive as much as possible when you're going a build like this. It's really going to shine late game as well. So once you get kin size, you can either do one of two things. You can get something like an Odysseus bow. So an Odysseus bow will just give you 30% attack speed, but you're doing all that additional damage like in team fights. So if you're hanging back a lot, if you're always getting run down by like the solo, but you want to do damage in a team fight, Odysseus bow applies this extra chain lightning on their hits, right? So you're basically able to do extra damage. You can see I'm doing 113 consistently to that other Odin over there. So this is just something that you can do to do damage to backliners without even have to be in their face. You can be attacking their solo or support and trying to melt them and still doing damage. Or you can do something like, basically at this point you'd be getting the Executioner, right? And then you would be getting one of the upgrades here, which I believe it's the ferocious one you want to, execution you want to do. The heavy one is if you want to cap your attack speed. You don't want to do this because you're going for the Silver Branch passive and all that stuff. But basically what the ferocious executioner does is every time you hit an enemy, you're reducing their protection by 7% for a max of 3 stacks. So this is going to go with Silver Branch. So you're already doing a ton of penetration. Plus kin size is going to come into play. And then your next basic attack marks an enemy god for 8 seconds. The more you hit them, you provide 2% increased damage to them and all that stuff. So you're basically going to be able to utilize this very, very well. You can see I'm doing a ton of damage to them just with my basic attacks. It's not even with this popped in with Silver Branch, right? Or applying a slow to them, right? If you apply the her passive, it does even more damage. Where this really shines, though, is once you're able to upgrade Death's Toll into Death's Temper, you're going to get a 30% attack speed, which you didn't have before, right? It wasn't on here. So now you're definitely overcapped. You have a passive 12 stacks on Silver Branch Bow. And then when an enemy dies within 80 units of you, you gain 1 stack of Temper that provides 3.5% increased basic attack damage for 10 seconds. This can stack up to 10 times. So you're getting like 35% increased basic attack damage. These gods won't die, so without the stacks, it looks like this, right? You're hitting like a truck. You're applying your slows and getting that passive to them, right? You're hitting so hard and so fast. But when you eventually get these stacks, I'll show you because it stacks on minions. When you get these Death Temper stacks, where it's 6, now look at my stats. I have a 50 on Silver Branch. Actually, let me do this. I'll go kill the gods for the stacks. It goes down to 12. But when I kill them, I get these stacks. Look at how much faster I am melting Guan Yu now that I have a full 10 stacks on Death's Temper. And this is without applying, right, the slow, getting the extra basic attack damage, getting them in a trap. You just hit like a truck with the build like this. You will meld all of the tanks with this build, right? So these are probably the basic builds that you'll build on Artemis. Like I said, you want to get her to late game. You're not really going to be doing much until you get the Silver Branch and Kin Size online, and then obviously you get like the Executioner Death Temper and stuff like that. And you'll start really chunking away at them. You'll have enough pen between these two items plus the Kin Size with the percent health. The Death Temper is going to give you a ton of basic attack damage. Obviously, Ichval, you're increasing your power and everything like that. It's just like a really good all-around build. You're able to cap out Silver Branch Bow and all that stuff too. So these are probably the two basic builds that you'll build on her, either the crit one, like I said before, or this one here. And then, yeah, that's the basics of Artemis, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you guys haven't already, subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be coming out with a quick God guide. And I know I say quick God guide and they're like 30 minutes at this point, but I figured I'm doing a God guide. I want to tell you all the tips and tricks that I know from them. It's quick-ish, maybe not so quick, but still incredibly helpful, right? So if you guys want to see more of those, subscribe to the page because I will be coming out with them consistently. I'm literally going A through Z through all of the gods right now. I'm on Artemis, so I've just started. I did the whole top row. I'm on the second row now. We're going to go all the way down to Z and do a video like this for each and every single one of the gods. So subscribe to the page, click the notification bell so you guys can be notified like, oh, Giraffe release a new god video, and then or feel free to come back, you know, when I do one for those you guys like want to see. So if it's Zeus, it's gonna be a while until I get to those guys, but I will eventually get to them. And then we also do other build videos. So we just did a relic and starter item guide. It's a 2-hour 40-minute video where we go through all of the relics, all of the starters, consumables, and we talk about basically these in a conquest setting and in other game mode settings, but we explain why hunters get certain ones, why they're really good with upgrades, which gods like they're good on and everything. So feel free to check that video out. It's the full detail relic and starter item guide that you guys can check out. Feel free to listen to it as a podcast, you know, anything like that. But the big thing is we're going to be going through all of the items next. So we're going to do another like 2-3 hour video, and we're going to go through all of the items in Smite. We're literally going to go through all of these categories here. What's a power item for physical? What's a power item for magical? What's defense? Why do you build this? What does Genji's Guard do? How does its passive work? How does it synergize with other you know, items and things like that? So stay tuned for that. That'll be released soonish, probably within like a week or so. It takes a while to do those videos because you have to sit down for 3 hours and go through everything. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this taught you how to play Artemis a little bit better. And thank you guys very much, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.